Within the operating mechanism of one of the world's oldest institutions, each member is not merely an individual, but a systemic anchor. Recently, observers have begun to question whether a form of turbulence is emerging in the flow of power at Buckingham Palace. Some hypotheses suggest that a quiet shift in influence may be taking place between Queen Camilla and the Princess of Wales, Kate Middleton. Are the so-called tensions highlighted by the media simply personal jealousy, or are they the outcome of a power algorithm designed to re-establish order in a new era? When a new symbol of devotion begins to rise, how does the old system respond in order to preserve its position? In historical analysis, there is a concept known as the weight of choice. Unverified sources are now sketching a picture of deep internal reflection within King Charles III himself. Rumors speak of silent confessions not expressed in writing, but revealed through decisions that subtly alter the trajectory of the monarchy. If the hypotheses about regret are true, are we witnessing an attempt at internal systemic purification? Could it be that behind the splendor of ritual, the king is confronting a psychological struggle between dynastic duty and personal legacy? A deeper truth seems to be emerging, one that suggests the unresolved knots of the past, from the symbolic marriage to Princess Diana to his enduring love for Camilla, have become decisive variables shaping the future of the throne. Looking back at the milestone of 1981, when 750 million people witnessed a fairy tale wedding, the system at the time projected an illusion of perfection. Yet from an investigative perspective, it may have been the starting point of a chain of errors that lasted for decades. When traditional values collided with modern emotional needs, the royal structure revealed fractures that no glossy veneer could conceal forever. Charles, standing at the crossroads of two historical currents, may understand better than anyone that a crown is not forged from gold alone, but tempered by sacrifices that cannot be undone. We are standing at the threshold of a new chapter, where history seems to be rewritten through whispers from within the palace itself. Are the events we witness merely the visible tip of an iceberg beneath which the private choices of one man have the power to unsettle an entire empire? In your view, does the future stability of the British royal family depend on preserving tradition or on having the courage to confront the miscalculations of the past? Share your perspective from the standpoint of a systems analyst in the comments below. History never truly disappears. It merely transforms from one form into another. Systems analysts often refer to a concept known as echoing legacy. The departure of a humanitarian icon in the past left a profound void in the monarchy's operating algorithm. That warmth and boundless ability to connect inadvertently established a new benchmark for anyone aspiring to step into leadership. And there we see the emergence of Kate Middleton, regarded as the ideal variable to decode this equation. D. Is her rise not simply the result of public affection, but rather because she has successfully integrated the source code of grace and compassion into a system known for its rigidity? Since the milestone of September 2022, when a new title was conferred, we have witnessed a surge in what could be called a social resonance index. Kate is no longer merely playing the role of a royal family member. She is increasingly perceived as a symbol of balance. Unlike traditionally distant images, her approach to issues such as mental health and early childhood education has created a sense of direct connection with the public. This raises a fundamental question. When an individual becomes too prominent and commands overwhelming public trust, does it inadvertently create a phase shift within the established hierarchy of power? This is where the narrative grows more complex. In a system where every position carries its own weight, the radiant rise of a new star can cast shadows over other roles. Some viewpoints suggest that the public's near-absolute admiration for Kate has generated a form of systemic psychological pressure. Speculation about dissatisfaction on the part of Queen Camilla has begun to surface in the form of hypotheses about strategic jealousy. Could this be a natural response of an established structure when it senses its influence narrowing? Even King Charles III is said to have noticed this shift. Is his composure a sign of tacit consent, or a careful observation of a future in which the universal appeal of the heir might eclipse the role of the reigning crown? Are we witnessing a gentle transfer of soft power, or a quiet struggle to preserve standing in the public's heart? If the universal appeal of a single individual can reshape an entire institution, will the monarchy evolve to adapt to Kate Middleton? Or will the system attempt to recalibrate her radiance in order to preserve the old order? If the monarchy is viewed as a vast machine, Kate Middleton appears to have discovered a new source code for operating it. Observers suggest that she is not merely a royal family member, but a transitional zone where regal refinement is blended with the emotional frequency of the modern public. Her rise since 2011 has not been accidental. It is the result of a sustained process of synchronization, preserving the necessary conservatism of a future queen while simultaneously creating an accessible interface. She is not distant. She has become a symbol of stability in a volatile world. In contrast, Queen Camilla's journey can be likened to swimming against the current within a system burdened by legacy errors. Although the coronation on May 6, 2023 officially formalized her position, it has yet to fully erase the lingering noise variables carried over from the past. Within Buckingham's power matrix, one pivotal navigation hub cannot be overlooked: Prince William. If King Charles III is striving to keep the current machinery running, William is quietly rewriting the source code for the future. His unwavering support for Princess Kate is not merely marital affection, but a strategy of synchronization. William understands that for the institution to avoid obsolescence, it needs an interface capable of strong interaction with the public. Yet this alignment has inadvertently created a clear generational distance between their camp and Queen Camilla. Under an investigative lens, the relationship between William and his stepmother Camilla has long been regarded as a sensitive data zone. While the outward appearance remains one of ceremonial respect, analysts suggest that William is implementing a form of historical isolation protocol. He shields Kate from the gravitational pull of the past while simultaneously establishing a new center of power at Kensington Palace, one where Kate's influence is optimized without requiring validation from the old system. Does this separation represent preparation for a decisive transfer of power? Or is it the spark that could ignite internal fragmentation? One hypothesis suggests that in the public mind, Princess Diana is not a historical figure who has passed, but an immutable constant. Her presence is so powerful that it creates a filter of bias through which every charitable effort and every act of dedication by Camilla must pass. Despite her tireless work to reposition her personal image, the malware of 1990s media headlines still resurfaces from time to time, disrupting the social system's process of acceptance. The disparity in approval ratings between Kate and Camilla has created a dynamic that analysts describe as a symbolic energy imbalance. On one side stands Kate, the embodiment of a fresh, untarnished beginning filled with promise. On the other is Camilla, the embodiment of perseverance, yet one forever associated with the fractures of the past. Could the rumored jealousy, if it exists, actually be the resistance of an old system confronted by the overwhelming radiance of a new system? As Kate effortlessly captures the hearts of millions, Camilla's decades-long efforts suddenly appear more muted than ever before. This may not be merely a matter of personal emotion, but rather an imbalance in symbolic stock value within the public consciousness. When the world witnessed the close of an era on September 8, 2022, the royal system did not only lose a monarch, it lost a defining identity constant. The passing of Queen Elizabeth II left an immense symbolic vacuum. Yet in analyzing the new variables, observers have noted a curious phenomenon, a remarkable synchronization. Kate Middleton appears to carry a kind of spiritual genetic code that resonates with both the late Queen and Princess Diana. Could her remarkable rise stem not merely from appearance, but from her role as a safe buffer zone where rigid tradition is softened by modern sincerity? When she engages with children or speaks openly about mental health, the system itself seems to recalibrate, becoming more compatible with the 21st century. Within a strictly hierarchical mechanism, the radiance of a satellite can sometimes overshadow the center. Quiet hypotheses are now circulating about underlying tensions in the relationship between Queen Camilla and the Princess of Wales. Under an investigative lens, we see a stark contrast. On one side is Camilla, who has been working persistently to consolidate her position after decades spent in the turbulent zone of old tabloid controversies. On the other is Kate, who appears to have captured the public's trust market share almost entirely. Could the jealousy rumored by the media actually be a form of system-protective reaction? As Kate's influence begins to extend beyond the boundaries of protocol, it inadvertently casts a shadow zone over the Queen's official role. Some unverified sources suggest that Kate's ease in winning over younger generations is creating an invisible pressure on those currently bearing the responsibilities of leadership. The relationship between Camilla and Kate is not merely a mother-in-law/daughter-in-law story, but a collision between two existential mindsets. Camilla represents the persistence of rebuilding a legacy from the ruins of the past, while Kate embodies a future that appears unblemished. Kate's meteoric rise in popularity since September 2022 seems to have sent a powerful message to Buckingham Palace. Real power does not lie in titles but in emotional resonance with the public. This places King Charles III in a difficult position at the helm of a ship guided by two lighthouses shining at once, yet emitting entirely different frequencies of light. Within an institution where speech is tightly controlled, the British royal family relies on a different communication protocol: visual sign language. Every outfit worn by Kate Middleton or Camilla is not merely a fashion choice, but a data packet transmitted directly to the public. Kate Middleton consistently employs color palettes and accessories that are heritage compatible. Her decision to rewear jewelry belonging to Princess Diana or Queen Elizabeth II functions as a powerful act of identity authentication. It signals to the social system, I am the legitimate continuation of the most beloved values. By contrast, Queen Camilla opts for a restrained style, at times deliberately receding into the background to minimize visual conflicts with the past. Yet this very contrast produces an unintended effect. While Kate shines like a beam of modern blue light, Camilla is inadvertently pushed into the shadow of old memories. Analysts have begun to ask, is Kate's repeated activation of Diana's memory through fashion a psychological strategy to maintain an advantage in the battle for public support? A wordless yet weighty reminder of one lingering question: who truly holds the soul of the crown? The power system at Buckingham is witnessing a quiet reordering. Kate Middleton appears to have successfully decoded the source code of warmth and compassion, the legacy left behind by a past icon, to construct an unblemished model for the future. By contrast, Queen Camilla is still striving to process the historical errors of the past in her search for full acceptance. A hypothesis emerges. Is Kate's extraordinary radiance the driving force that helps the monarchy adapt to a new era, or does it inadvertently become a shadow zone that eclipses the existing traditional order? When public trust becomes the unit by which power is measured, who truly holds the key to the empire? Faced with this shifting landscape of symbols, what are your thoughts on the figure currently commanding the media spotlight? Leave 2, if you support renewal and the influence of a future-oriented symbol. Leave 5, if you believe the old order deserves to be preserved and respected. Hit like and subscribe now, so you don't miss upcoming deep dives and bold hypotheses uncovering the secrets behind the crown. Since the historical pivot shifted in September 2022, the monarchy has not only witnessed a change of reign, but also a sweeping restructuring of image. Kate Middleton no longer appears as a supporting figure. She has become a core node in the algorithm of the new operating system. Through an analytical lens, her rise is far more than the execution of duty. It is a process of value redefinition. By connecting with all layers of society through initiatives on mental health and early childhood development, Kate has inadvertently established a modern interface for an institution long perceived as distant and out of touch. See. Many hypotheses suggest that she is precisely the solution, allowing this system to remain compatible with Generation Z and Generation Alpha. Yet every shift generates friction. Astute observers have detected a subtle emotional frequency mismatch within the stone walls of the palace. Although King Charles III has formally established Queen Camilla's position behavioral data point to an invisible distance between her and the future symbol that is Kate Middleton. This restraint is believed to stem not from personal conflict, but from the lingering presence of an old legacy code. Princess Diana, though long gone, continues to exist as an eternal constant in the public consciousness. When Kate displays grace and compassion, the system immediately recognizes her as the true heir to that energy source. This gives rise to a systemic paradox: who holds the title and who truly holds the soul of the monarchy? While Camilla has spent decades attempting to repair fractures in public trust, Kate's radiant and seemingly effortless presence appears to have created a new reference pressure. There are hypotheses of a covert struggle for recognition, where every gesture and every glance becomes a chess piece on the board of soft power. The absence of warmth between these two most powerful figures may well be a sign of a self-adjusting system recalibrating itself in response to variables from the past and expectations for the future. In a system where public attention is treated as the primary fuel source, the surge of the Kate frequency has generated a phenomenon observers describe as light dominance. Queen Camilla, who has spent decades relentlessly rebuilding her image from the shattered fragments of her past, is now facing an unpredictable variable. Unverified sources are sketching out a so-called covert campaign behind the scenes. Rather than challenging directly, there are theories suggesting that Camilla is implementing a repositioning at the center strategy, enhancing her presence at high-profile events and further tightening the symbolic bond with King Charles III. Is this an effort to remind the system where the official crown still resides? A detail that stands out in this investigation is the reaction of King Charles III, the control center of the system. There are rumors circulating within the palace halls that the king has noticed the shift in this soft power dynamic. A bold hypothesis arises. Have there been private conversations of strategic realignment, where the king urged adaptation to the irreversible flow? In the modern world, a monarchy cannot survive without the resonance of the youth, where Kate Middleton holds an unrivaled position. Camilla's existence is the constant of duty, but Kate's rise is the variable of survival. Camilla is not simply sharing the spotlight. She may be striving not to be reduced to a blurred point in the future picture. Her subtle moves, from aligning with key social causes to demonstrating unwavering solidarity with the king, could be seen as executive orders to protect her position as consort queen. However, the big question remains, as an ideal figure like Kate, regarded as the spiritual heir to the greatest legacies, continues to shine, will all efforts to reinforce the traditional position become futile? King Charles III has spent nearly a century preparing for the moment of receiving the crown, yet it seems there was no ceremonial curriculum to prepare him for this internal turbulence. Observers note that the king finds himself caught between a chessboard where the responsibility to the dynasty collides head-on with complex emotional variables. An underground battle is believed to be taking place between the two most important satellites of the throne, the traditional stability of Queen Camilla and the modern appeal of Duchess Kate Middleton. Is this simply a matter of personal jealousy? Or is it a natural rejection reaction of an old system in the face of such a perfect entity? The most astonishing element in this investigation is the emergence of a historical constant, Princess Diana. Though decades have passed, her legacy has not disappeared, but seems to be re-encoded through Kate Middleton. Kate is not merely fulfilling duties. She is emitting the same energy frequency that Diana once possessed: warmth, an ability to connect without barriers, and a naturally graceful demeanor. Kate's rise is like a mirror unintentionally bringing to life memories that the royal system had once tried to close. For King Charles, Kate's fame may be a comfort, but it is also a painful reminder of the historical missteps that cannot be corrected. Charles is facing the hardest task of his royal life, maintaining balance in a system that is emotionally fractured. On one side is his partner Camilla, who has weathered public storms with him to establish their current position. On the other side is the new face of the nation, who carries the responsibility of ushering the royal family into the modern era. Experts analyzing the system propose a hypothesis. Could the king's silence be a sign of a peaceful settlement, or is he quietly accepting the truth that history is repeating itself in a more subtle way? Queen Camilla's journey could be likened to a solitary expedition to re-establish her position from negative ground. For decades, she has had to operate in a rejection system, where every step she took was shadowed by public prejudice and contempt. And just when she believed she had reached the balance of recognition, a new variable emerged. Kate Middleton's rise is not just a typical ascent. It creates a halo effect that overshadows. Insider sources have begun to sketch out a heightened sense of vigilance. Is there an underlying resentment when witnessing a younger figure effortlessly claim the emotional market share that she has spent her entire life fighting to build? King Charles III currently stands at the center of a reflective vortex. He is not only governing a kingdom but also trying to manage the emotional cracks within his own family. His efforts to reassure Camilla seem to be nothing more than a facade for a deeper skepticism. Does true trust really exist when the ghosts of the past have never truly left? Through the lens of investigation, a haunting hypothesis arises. In moments of stillness, is the king silently conducting his own historical interrogation? As Charles observes how Kate Middleton operates the system with such excellence and natural grace, he may be seeing the reflection of the Diana constant, someone whose power of compassion he once failed to decode. Could this eerie similarity have sparked an equation of regret? the awareness of an irreparable loss, now manifesting in his very own successor. The monarchy does not fear change, but it fears internal division. Charles knows better than anyone that any misalignment between Camilla and Kate could lead to a widespread image crisis. He is forced to play the role of a coordinator of the flow of power, trying to keep the fire of jealousy from burning down the stability he has worked so hard to build. Faced with the disparity in symbolic energy, King Charles III has implemented a governance strategy that experts call calculated harmony. He is deeply aware that the monarchy's survival in the digital age depends on the Kate variable, but its internal stability lies in the Camilla axis. By orchestrating these carefully crafted joint appearances, the king is attempting to send a message of unity. However, behind these perfectly framed moments, insider sources still detect areas of disturbance. This is not just about positioning. It is a desperate effort to prevent a crisis of trust from erupting if one of the two satellites feels their orbit is off. A significant shift is taking place in the structure of responsibility. Kate Middleton has been entrusted with more strategically important duties. She is no longer merely a domestic icon. She has ascended to become the international face of the monarchy. Kate's presence alongside world leaders and her leadership at state events serve as a profound testament that the system is betting on her charisma to maintain its relevance in the modern world. However, every stride Kate takes inadvertently creates a pressure of obsolescence on Queen Camilla's role. As one side emerges as the definitive symbol of the future, the other is easily labeled as a vestige of a bygone era. She is no longer just a domestic symbol. She has become the international representative face. Kate's appearances alongside world leaders and her leadership in state-level events serve as evidence that the system is betting on her appeal to maintain its connection with the modern world. However, each of Kate's advances inadvertently creates a rejection pressure on the role of Queen Camilla. When one side becomes the symbol of the future, the other is easily labeled as the remnant of an old era. We stand on the threshold of one of the most crucial variables in the contemporary history of Buckingham Palace. For decades, King Charles III has operated a steadfast strategy, protecting at all costs the presence of Queen Camilla, who has stood by him through the harshest public storms to establish a legitimate position. Yet as he ascends to the peak of power, he now faces a more unforgiving reality than the controversies of the past. Through the lens of system analysis, a deep contradiction is emerging within the monarchy's inner core. On one hand, there is loyalty to the past, and on the other, the survival of a 1,000-year-old institution. Kate Middleton appears not just as a royal family member, but as a lifeline algorithm. Could it be that the very qualities once considered dangerous to the old order, the natural brilliance and intense magnetism of Princess Diana, are now the source code that can help the monarchy align with the modern world? Kate's rise on the international stage is not just a diplomatic mission. It is a dramatic transfer of soft power. As her influence reaches an irreplaceable level, a massive shadow has inadvertently been cast over Camilla's efforts to solidify her position. Charles now finds himself in a dilemma. Can he maintain the balance between one side being the constant of emotional ties and the other being the variable of survival? The underlying tension within the palace is likened to simmering lava beneath the glossy surface of ceremonial grandeur. When dissatisfaction reaches its tipping point and the public's admiration is concentrated on one side, the system will inevitably undergo a self-correction. It will be the moment when Charles must make a fateful decision. Continue to protect the old order or bravely embrace a new future where the shadows of the past once again hold the crown far. This is not just a personal confrontation, but a puzzle about the survival of an empire in the new era. The truth is likely still being written behind the closed doors of the palace, where every choice comes with its cost. This is merely for reference based on hypotheses and unverified public rumors/opinions. Let's discuss this matter from an objective analytical standpoint. Don't sit still. Let me know your reaction. Press 1 for curiosity and a desire to explore more. Press 0 for cautious skepticism. Hit like and subscribe now to join me in uncovering the mysteries behind the veil of power in the upcoming videos. London, early 2026. Before the first rays of sunlight reached Big Ben, a strange atmosphere seemed to envelop Clarence House. Unverified information was stirring up public opinion about a pivotal decision that could change the course of one of the world's most prestigious families. Instead of the usual social news, insiders were questioning the temporary suspension of an inheritance distribution process related to Princess Diana's estate. Was this merely a simple administrative procedure or the activation of a protective mechanism established decades earlier? In the world of strict royal rules, the existence of a sealed will has always been the subject of speculation. An abstract concept has begun to emerge: the third clause. According to several theories put forward by analysts, this clause doesn't focus on political upheavals or media attention, but rather seems to point to a more fundamental value: the integrity of the lineage. If this scenario is true, then activating it signals that the institution is facing a potentially structurally destabilizing event rather than just a media frenzy. All attention is now focused on a shocking theory: the emergence of a 29-year-old woman referred to online by mysterious initials. Is there a connection between the present and the late 1990s, when personal secrets were often obscured by the glitz and glamour of the stage? Unofficial sources suggest that a handwritten letter from 1996, allegedly from the late princess, unexpectedly surfaced after an internal audit. If the rumors are true, that letter contains prophecies of divided bloodlines and a crown shaken by seduction. This is a dramatic fictional scenario, a mother seeking to protect her children from dangers she foresaw decades ago. While London is reeling from legal scrutiny in West Hollywood, tense moments seem to be unfolding between the main characters of this story. Images of a thick stack of documents and stunned faces have left the public wondering, is it time for a long dormant truth to be revealed? The silence from those involved often provides fertile ground for theories to develop. Could it be that a discreet settlement failed to reach a consensus, leading to the issuance of an asset freeze as a last resort? We are facing an investigation into traditional values, truth, and heritage. These are just pieces of a larger picture, and we have only seen the tip of the iceberg. Is this a necessary purge to protect legitimacy, or merely a compounding of misunderstandings within a family already fraught with turmoil, and in a world where information is constantly changing? Do you think the ultimate truth is as important as the choices we make about what we believe? Leave your thoughts in the comment section, and we'll analyze them further in the following developments. Amidst the media storm, a statement rang out, not with the clamor of a fame-seeker, but with an unusually calm demeanor. The central figure in this controversy did not mention the crown, Nor did she refer to the figures in the trust funds. Instead, she emphasized a fundamental human right, the right to know one's origins. The information circulating describes a decades-long quest for the truth. I just want the truth to be acknowledged. A simple statement, yet one that carries immense weight, capable of shaking even the most impregnable palace walls. In the age of technology, theories don't just remain words. Observers are buzzing about the existence of a document supposedly showing the results of genetic analysis from a renowned expert at UCLA. If the parameters of 99.98% similarity are accurate, we are no longer simply dealing with a fabricated story, but with a real threat. Biological evidence. It's very challenging. Why would such a crucial document surface at this sensitive time? Is it a mere coincidence of fate, or the result of a carefully planned effort to bring an old secret to light? The investigation takes us back in time to 1995 to 1996, a period when archivists and insiders were scrutinizing every millimeter of the protagonist's timeline. A ceremonial event in Chicago sealed files from ecclesiastical institutions in the Vatican. Theories suggest there were media lulls during this period, coinciding with the time a baby girl was allegedly born in Oak Park, Illinois. If we connect these ambiguities, a completely different picture of the past gradually emerges. It raises a major question about consistency in the public records of celebrities. Can we ever truly know everything about someone's past, no matter how long they've been in the spotlight? Deep within the sealed archives of the Vatican, there are reports suggesting the existence of a file from 1997, a request to revoke past commitments. Theories are circulating about the presence of an unidentified entity within these ecclesiastical documents. If these clues to the past are real, they are not simply old pages of paper. They pose a perplexing puzzle: moral trust and transparency. In the world of royal protocol and international law, inconsistencies between public records and personal reality can have consequences that extend far beyond a simple family dispute. It touches upon the very foundations of immigration regulations, prenuptial agreements, and the legitimacy of a long-standing institution. Deep within the sealed archives of the Vatican, there are rumors of a record from 1997, an application to annul past commitments. Theories are circulating about the presence of an unidentified element within these ecclesiastical documents. If these clues to the past are real, they are not simply old pages. They pose a perplexing puzzle: moral trust and transparency. In the world of royal protocol and international law, inconsistencies between public records and personal reality can have far-reaching consequences extending beyond a simple family dispute. It touches upon the very foundations of immigration regulations, prenuptial agreements, and the legitimacy of long-established institutions. Why is verifying ancestry so crucial? The answer likely lies in the spirit of third clause. This is part of Princess Diana's will. From a hypothetical analysis perspective, inheritance is not just about material possessions, but about the clarity of bloodline. Once doubt is sown, it has the potential to undermine the validity of any claims related to trust funds. This is no longer a battle of the present, but a battle to protect the authenticity of the lineage against unforeseen variables. On January 16th, a blurry video clip allegedly filmed at a West Hollywood cafe caused an online uproar. These images captured not just a conversation, but a fierce clash between two worldviews. Through analysis of body language, one side showed panic, while the other displayed extreme tension. The fragmented words are believed to have appeared in that space. The truth was there before it began. Good. The future of the next generation. While the authenticity of the conversation remains questionable, the emotions emanating from those frames are undeniable. Could the black file the woman carries be the key to unlocking the Diana Protection Fund, a fund currently frozen in a terrifying silence? The character codenamed AM, though never appearing directly on screen, has become the focus of a global investigation. We are witnessing the most serious legal and ethical reckoning in decades. Is this a perfectly orchestrated move to redefine power, or the inevitable resurgence of a truth that has been suppressed for too long? If you held the black file, would you choose to release it to seek justice, or keep it secret to protect the peace of a family? Leave your thoughts in the comments. Don't forget to like and follow so we can get to the bottom of this investigation in the next part. In the corridors of British justice, a legal case has just been filed, not seeking glamorous titles or material compensation, but aiming for a more abstract goal recognition of bloodline. If this request is granted, it will create an unprecedented precedent, placing a missing piece right at the heart of the royal succession diagram. The existence of the figure codenamed AM is not just a personal story. It is an entity capable of changing the entire trajectory of the Sussex family. The emergence of these streams of information seems to have created an emotional storm for those involved. There are reports of mental instability, self-reflection on the past, and doubts about the authenticity of seemingly predetermined events. Meanwhile, the absolute silence from the central figure Meghan Markle is being scrutinized by analysts. Is this a tactical move to observe her opponent, or is it confusion in the face of a truth that is gradually emerging? On January 17, 2026, a brief news item in the official Vatican newspaper attracted the attention of royal legal scholars. Despite being written in coded and cautious language, the announcement appears to confirm the preservation of documents relating to discussions from 1995 to 1996. Why would a powerful religious institution like the Vatican retain the spiritual anxieties of the late Princess Diana? Theories are connecting details about a blind Tibetan mystic and warnings about a turbulent future for Harry. Could what we are witnessing today have been foreseen over 30 years ago in a secret meeting between humanitarian groups? Faced with undeniable pressure, the Royal Medical Ethics Council appears to be considering a scenario previously considered impossible, demanding independent verification of biological records. This has been described as a last resort to protect the legitimacy of the royal institution. A truth-checking is underway where traditional values confront modern scientific evidence and prophecies from the past. We live in a time when history is no longer a collection of old pages, but a living entity demanding transparency. From secret Vatican files to a mother's handwritten letters worrying about her child, every path leads to one ultimate question: does truth always bring liberation? Or does it sometimes foreshadow a greater downfall? Do you believe in factual scientific evidence or spiritual warnings preserved for decades? Deep within royal history, the late Princess Diana's secret anxieties about what she called a divided lineage are often mentioned. There are theories that after her meeting with an Eastern mystic, she left behind two important documents. If one was kept by her loyal butler, the other is believed to have lain untouched in the apostolic archives in Rome for decades. The contents of the document, titled Secret Letters Sent Through the Air, are becoming the focus of speculation. The prophetic passages about outward appearances concealing true nature and those who attempt to grasp the crown without its bloodline are sending shivers down the spines of observers. Although the Holy See has not officially confirmed it, the recent opening of rare archives for legal investigations demonstrates the seriousness of the matter. The investigation appears to have extended beyond religious documents to include security matters. Sources suggest that special surveillance protocols have been set up to review the period from 1995 to 1998 in Meghan Markle's life, a period now considered a golden opportunity to unravel mysteries. What is being discovered has the potential to shake the entire media landscape of the Sussexes. The key point lies in a figure from Pennsylvania who is believed to have had a close connection with her in the mid-1990s. Has an old chapter in her life been forgotten, or is it shrouded in a thick fog of privacy? Why have rumors of a past ritual suddenly resurfaced so strongly? The answer likely lies not in ordinary civil records, but in forgotten papers within church institutions. Theories are centering on a request to annul a marriage commitment sealed in 1997 in Chicago. If these documents truly exist and confirm a contradictory lifestyle and the presence of previously undisclosed personal elements, it would completely alter the definition of transparency for modern members of royalty. We stand before a labyrinth of sealed files, prophecies from the past, and high-level security investigations. Each piece unearthed leads us to a deeper question of identity and truth. Should we believe what is presented on camera or the coded messages preserved in handwritten letters from 3 decades ago? If Diana's prophecies are true, are we witnessing the beginning of a downfall or a necessary purge for the future of the crown? According to the strict regulations of ecclesiastical law, sensitive files concerning influential figures are often forwarded to Rome for processing at the highest level. Among these documents, the existence of a confidentiality request is mentioned, a plea for the confidentiality of personal information, because those involved are likely to face the public eye. The issue here is not about the rightness or wrongness of a personal choice, but about the compatible with traditional rules. In the world of royalty, transparency is not just a virtue, but a legally binding requirement. If the pieces of the past, from marriage commitments to the presence of dependents, are not fully disclosed from the outset, it will create a legal domino effect directly impacting the constitutionality of current relationships and international residency procedures. A legal advisor once made a rather cryptic remark: "The issue isn't the shame, but the gaps." The unfinished pages of the main characters' life stories are being pieced together by all parties involved. On January 14th, the presence of a key figure at a leading law firm specializing in international disputes opened a new avenue for speculation. Instead of silence, a multifaceted defense strategy appears to be taking shape. The goal is likely to prevent the spread of documents from the Vatican, protect the biological privacy of future generations, and reshape the nature of the palace's financial freeze. A voice from Hollywood offered a sharp analogy: "This is no longer an ordinary game of chess. When the pieces are no longer in the right positions, people tend to want to overturn the entire board." On the morning of January 18th, 2026, history will likely record this as the moment when vigilance shifted to a state of large-scale, coordinated containment. A whisper from a 29-year-old woman became a real earthquake, forcing all levels of leadership to take action. We are witnessing a convergence of classified intelligence records, ancient Vatican rules, and modern genetic analysis. All are coming together to create a moral and legal judgment unlike any other in the modern history of the Windsor royal family. The veil of mystery is gradually being lifted, but behind it lies a new labyrinth of questions. When truth is no longer a single concept, but a synthesis of fragments from the past, what will we believe? Can an established system adapt to unprecedented variables, or will it choose silence to preserve its existing structure? And more importantly, in the battle between transparency and privacy, who truly holds the key to the future? As the legal hurdles from Diana's third clause began to take effect, a new strategy quietly emerged in the corridors of power from Windsor to Clarence House. Observers called this heritage blockade, inheritance lockdown, a systemic response to unpredictable developments from the Vatican and transatlantic legal moves. The focus of this campaign is believed to revolve around the decisiveness of the heir to the throne. On January 17th, an executive directive was reportedly issued suspending all claims and ceremonies related to the Sussex family. This is not merely an individual reaction, but is seen by experts as a self-defense mechanism aimed at preserving the asset's reputation and stability of future generations. One of the clearest signals of this purge is the correction of institutional memory. The removal of a central figure's name from the archives of long-standing royal initiatives sends a quiet but powerful message. While legal hurdles are being set, the family's moral guardian, Princess Anne, appears to be taking on the role of overseeing transparency. A comprehensive audit of funding and donations during the 2020 to 2023 period has been triggered. The ultimate goal of this action is to ensure that the royal institution is not drawn into scenarios they never agreed to. This is no longer a matter of a family. It is a test of a monarchy's ability to govern itself. While legal storms rage behind closed doors, Princess Catherine appears to be playing a long game through the power of symbols. On January 18th, her appearance in a navy blue outfit at a children's hospital drew all eyes. Fashion and historical analysts suggest this is no random choice but a strategically calculated reference to the image of Princess Diana, a silent message of stability, composure, and the continuation of the legitimate lineage is being sent amidst the storm. This battle is not only taking place in legal documents but also in shaping public perception. When the monarchy chooses coordinated restraint and heritage blockade, they stand at a historical crossroads. In the most turbulent times, dignity is sometimes defined by silence. Some sources claim that Princess Catherine made a very impactful statement: dignity is a more enduring language than opinion. This is not merely a conversational phrase, but is considered by observers to be a guiding principle for the dynasty's defense strategy. Within the internal world, heritage seems to be likened to a garden. To maintain its beauty and purity, the gardener not only protects the trees from storms, but also must quietly remove weeds elements that could harm overall growth. The meticulousness in each internal memorandum and the decision to freeze financial privileges were seen as necessary steps to preserve the heritage estate from potential legal risks. As doubts about integrity spread, the monarchy appeared to have established a no-entry, no-exit defense system through 3 new rules, a defining moment of silence. All mention of the figures at the center of the storm has been suspended in official discourse until the issues of lineage are legally clarified. Storage is limited. Joint projects and related digital data are all placed in a sealed state creating a barrier separating the past from the present. Contingency guardianship scenario. A group of experts has reportedly been formed to examine legal protection options for the next generation in preparation for a worst-case scenario where current legal frameworks become ineffective. This stance represents a dramatic shift from a reactive to a permanent defensive posture. While the walls of London were being reinforced across the Atlantic, a completely different kind of rift was unfolding in the spotlight. The meticulously crafted media image appears to be undergoing a significant erosion. The first domino fell when one of Hollywood's most powerful guardians officially announced the severance of contractual and personal ties. According to insiders, this rift doesn't stem from typical financial conflicts, but rather from a feeling of being caught in a hypothetical storm they never wanted to be caught in. Manipulating alliances is the term being used by the American media as an explanation for this sudden turn of events. A thought-provoking theory about kindness and its limits is circulating among Hollywood observers. Unverified reports suggest that one of the Sussex's most powerful allies has realized a harsh reality. Sometimes rescuing an entity in distress inadvertently brings the storm into one's own life. This figure's quiet withdrawal is seen as a red flag for the entire entertainment industry. If these speculations are true, the central figure is no longer seen as a brand asset to be protected, but seems to be shifting to what the business world calls a state of reputation risk. Looking back at media history, people are beginning to analyze a pattern called the Risk Alliance. From the shocking announcements of 2021 to the unusual silence of media giants in 2026, we see a systematic erosion of trust. The once impenetrable walls of A-list alliances now seem fragile in the face of exposed inconsistencies. There are reports of streaming giants and talent management companies undertaking a process they call a risk alliance, reassessing the value of commitment. The fact that audio projects are delayed or publishing contracts are rejected within just 48 hours are pieces of the puzzle that indicate a withdrawal-controlled repositioning is happening on a large scale. In Montecito, the glamour that once served as a beacon of self-repositioning is now shrouded in an ominous silence. No official announcements, no massive campaigns, only the stagnation of product lines and quiet farewells on professional social media platforms. Local reporters describe the situation with the phrase, "The fortress is cracking." When bridges to the throne are broken and alliances in Hollywood crumble, the protagonist must confront a reality they probably never imagined: systemic isolation. The legal actions at this point seem more reactive than proactive, and any silence is being interpreted by the community as tacit confirmation of the prevailing theories. Her silence is being analyzed by the community as tacit confirmation of the prevailing theories. At this point, a big question arises, based on the recent events. What are your thoughts on the main character in this power struggle? If you find their actions somewhat understandable, leave a comment with the number 2. But if you believe this is an inevitable collapse of media masks, leave a comment with the number 5. Your opinion is a crucial piece of the puzzle in this discussion. Don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss the next shocking details we're about to reveal. On the evening of January 18, 2026, the focus of all attention narrowed to a single figure, Prince Harry. Amidst legal proceedings and frozen financial accounts, the palace silence seemed to carry the most terrifying message. In particular, the cryptic statement by a senior member of the Royal Advisory Council on January 17th marked a significant shift. This was no longer about maintaining personal distance, but an effort to redefining institutional value in the face of change. We are witnessing a powerful purge where illusory values and fabricated narratives are facing the harsh realities of law and ethics. Is this the final chapter of a dream of American thrones, or the beginning of a profound self-reflection for those involved? As the spotlight fades and the cheers die down, what will remain beneath the frozen surface of these titles? In the architecture of a modern dynasty, people are beginning to realize that heritage cannot be built on assumptions. Transparency is not an act of cruelty. It is considered the highest measure of trust. Questions about biological eligibility and authenticity of lineage now seem to have moved beyond the tabloid pages and into the very heart of Windsor's legal system. At Clarence House, an unprecedented decision is believed to have been made, activating Regency Clause 14, a mechanism seen as freezing recognition for cases where there is ambiguity in the evidence. On the morning of January 18, 2026, insiders recorded a highly symbolic image: a man leaving his Montecito mansion in a private car carrying the last belongings of his late mother. This was not simply a geographical journey, but was interpreted by psychological analysts as a symbolic retreat, a return to a life of solitude in the face of unavoidable truths. Some argue that this was not an expression of anger, but rather a profound sense of loss, as what had once been fought for was now vanishing through legal proceedings. The reappearance of the former housekeeper, along with a handwritten letter from May 1997, has become a haunting turning point. The words allegedly written by the late Princess Diana about her choice between love and legacy are being used as a legal framework to assert the legitimacy of inheritance funds. In California, a new defensive strategy is taking shape, attempting to reshape the narrative through the lens of injustice. However the world seems to be shifting, instead of emotional displays, the public is beginning to crave concrete evidence. The palace's silence, coupled with the head of the dynasty's brief speech on longevity and managing time, drew a clear line. A final separation has been established. No more financial ties, no more old privileges, and no more nominal overlaps. A veiled saying is circulating within inner circles. Sometimes to protect the crown, you have to choose to let go of someone close to you. The story of self-made glory seems to have come to an end. The dynasty, after enduring harsh trials, now stands firm in its authority and remains unshaken. In your opinion, is absolute transparency the salvation of a long-standing institution, or is it the very factor that shatters even the most beautiful dreams? If you were in Harry's position right now, would you choose to remain silent or speak up? Leave your comments before we get to the most shocking part. This content is purely for informational purposes, based on unverified hypotheses and opinions. Let's discuss it from an objective analytical perspective. Don't sit still, interact with me. Press 1 for curiosity and 0 for skepticism. Like and subscribe now to join me in uncovering the truth behind the veils.
I mean, you really believe that maybe she had just decided to disappear for a time?
For a time, and then that she would call us and we would go and join her.
Visualize the intense moment as Prince William and Harry, two men who have lived their lives in the public eye, find themselves moved to the core by a truth they never saw coming. In an unprecedented move, King Charles has brought to light a confidence kept in the shadows for years, the last most personal wish of the people's princess. This is the moment where historical silence ends and a mother's true legacy is finally realized before the world. The question that lingers in the air is why this profound desire was kept in the shadows for so long. For two brothers who have been separated by a chasm of past grievances and public pressures, this revelation serves as a mirror to their own lives, offering a chance for a new understanding. This goes far beyond a simple headline. It is a cultural earthquake that challenges the stability of the institution, reminding us that the most powerful force in any monarchy is the truth of the human heart. Within the hushed corridors of the king's official residence, shielded from the relentless glare of the media, a pivotal event transpired that would alter the crown's future. In a profound gesture of transparency, King Charles unlocked a personal safe to address the hidden burdens of his royal inheritance. This vault had reportedly remained undisturbed for decades, a silent witness to history. Yet inside lay neither crown jewels nor official decrees, but a simple sealed envelope inscribed with the recognizable script of Princess Diana. Summoning Prince William and Prince Harry to his side, King Charles presented the letter with a voice heavy with emotion. "This is your mother's final legacy. She left this specifically for both of you." A profound hush descended upon the room, marking the end of a 20-year silence. The gravity of the situation spoke for itself. Tucked inside was a handwritten letter by Diana just days before her passing, a document known only to the king and his most loyal advisor until this sudden unveiling. The letter's text unveiled a long-concealed perspective on Diana's final intentions. Her vision for her sons centered on a life unburdened by the rigid expectations of the throne. Rather than focusing on status, wealth, or protocol, her message prioritized their autonomy and personal happiness. After absorbing the words, Harry reportedly noted that her true desire was for them to prioritize their humanity over their royal heritage. To William, the gravity of this encounter felt profoundly intimate. This was far more than a simple piece of correspondence. It represented a final echoing voice from the mother taken from him far too early, a woman whose life was cut short by the very world she sought to transform. "I never anticipated the sheer magnitude of the scrutiny." The letter read, describing a life where public obligation and private peace collided in a nearly unendurable struggle. She envisioned a life for them defined by true independence. This disclosure ignited a surge of emotion and brought critical questions to the forefront. Why had Charles withheld this letter for so long? What specific pleas had Diana penned in those concluding sentences? The pursuit of these answers triggered a series of seismic shifts within the palace, threatening to reshape the very foundations of the modern monarchy. The weight of these revelations is becoming overwhelming. They are on the verge of uncovering even deeper truths that could permanently redefine the legacy of the British House of Windsor. Drop a number 2 in the comments and subscribe now, because the upcoming chapters will challenge everything you thought you understood about Princess Diana and the future of the crown. Diana's ultimate ambition was for her sons to experience true independence. The correspondence was short, but its resonance shook the very foundations of the House of Windsor. Drafted in her recognizable hand just weeks before her tragic end, this final message focused neither on wealth nor the acquisition of prestigious titles. It wasn't an act of retaliation against her adversaries. It was a mother's desperate appeal, urgent, visceral, and haunting. As one aide revealed, the letter pleaded, "Allow them to live without fear. Let them define their own lives." These sentiments were reserved for her sons William and Harry, the two individuals who anchored her entire universe. They were the sole reason she weathered every sterile state dinner, every public indignity, and every heartbreak suffered in the shadows. Diana's haunting concern was that the monarchy would recast her boys as marble statues, shimmering remote and hollowed out by centuries of institutional emotional restraint. She had observed the psychological toll it took on Charles and the monarchs who preceded him. The institution didn't instruct its heirs in the art of empathy. Instead, it trained them to master a public facade regardless of the personal sacrifice. Diana sought to break this cycle for her children. "I refuse to let them be imprisoned by a life they didn't choose," she penned. "They deserve to love openly, to experience emotion, and to lead without hiding behind a persona." Within the rigid walls of the palace, that sentiment was revolutionary. It was profoundly moving. It was quintessentially Diana. She understood that one day William would inherit the massive burden of the crown, while Harry, as the second-born, would face the even more complex struggle of being the spare. Diana feared their identities would be molded by institutional duty rather than personal passion, that the weight of the monarchy would eventually erase their authentic spirits. This wasn't a call for an uprising. This was fundamentally a mission of sanctuary. As the global spotlight tightened around the family, their inner confidence began to erode within a haze of isolation and sorrow. While they gradually distanced themselves from those who could offer support, Diana endured what she characterized as the emotional vacuum of the royal institution. She had sought compassion only to find herself constrained by a rigid set of mandates. She reached out for a lifeline and was met with a wall of indifference. Though she became the most scrutinized woman on the planet, she lived in a state of profound invisibility. She was determined to prevent history from repeating itself. Yet what truly stunned William and Harry wasn't simply their mother's final plea. It was the crushing realization that their father had withheld that secret from them for more than 20 years. The correspondence was hermetically sealed, tucked into a confidential file, and submerged beneath layers of bureaucratic red tape within the king's personal vault. The motivation. According to palace confidants, Charles dreaded the impact of Diana's words not merely on the crown's public reputation, but on its delicate internal architecture. If her ultimate desire was for her children to reject the monarchy's grip, how could the centuries-old institution endure? Some insiders suggest Charles feared the message would validate Harry's departure and plant seeds of profound uncertainty in the mind of the future King William. Alternative theories suggest this wasn't an act of guardianship, but rather a display of systemic power and control. Regardless of the motive, the consequences were irreversible. The veil had finally been lifted. Both princes were suddenly forced to grapple with a reality that had been obscured for their entire adult lives. Yet for William, the gravity of the moment was far more profound. It appeared Diana hadn't merely addressed a single letter to both of her children. Back in 2004, during a modest restoration at one of Diana's former residences, a startling find came to light. A long-lost message concealed for decades was found tucked between the leaves of her private photo collection. This document, wholly unique within the annals of royal history, was written exclusively for Prince William. It bypassed all state channels, serving as an intimate rather than a formal or official decree. This was a profoundly intimate exchange, a candid and heartfelt dialogue between a mother and her child. Upon reading those passages, William was reportedly left reeling. The text unveiled a perspective that remained obscured to the public, Diana's acute understanding of the immense weight her eldest son would eventually be forced to shoulder. "The day will come when the crown is yours," she penned. Yet what followed was neither a summons to service nor a lecture on sovereign obligation. Instead, it was a poignant appeal. "Promise me you will protect the child you once were." In those few words, Diana's voice bridged the gap of decades. It was a mother's warning about the inheritance awaiting him, the relentless scrutiny, the demand for conformity, and the slow erosion of identity that so often accompanies the throne. The intrigue surrounding this correspondence deepens when analyzing its specific timeline. It surfaced not during the chaotic 1990s, but amidst the simmering tension that preceded the public dissolution of the royal marriage. One must wonder, did Charles truly hold these convictions at that stage? Was he reaching out to a high-ranking ecclesiastical advisor, or perhaps a mentor following in the footsteps of the legendary Lord Mountbatten? Within the palace, some contend this was no mere slip of the tongue, but a calculated emotional maneuver. These written words have compelled historians to reconsider the monarchy's official timeline. It raises a haunting question: could this be a nascent confession of something far more significant than previously imagined? Are we witnessing the unraveling of a sophisticated institutional concealment that has spanned decades? Unverified theories that were once relegated to the shadows have suddenly resurfaced with a new intensity. Once viewed as mere speculation, these questions about the royal succession have gained new traction following the reveal of the king's private papers. This leaves us with a haunting question: is there a hidden chapter of royal history that the establishment is not yet ready for the world to read? Everything changed with the unveiling of those hidden words. A scenario that once felt impossible now seems like a logical explanation for a series of historic anomalies. In the early 80s, Diana's health was often a subject of official concern, yet the details remained shrouded in ambiguity. We are now learning of hushed discussions between medical experts and royal staff that went far beyond public knowledge. If the rift in the marriage was already widening, could the crown have orchestrated a secret solution to ensure the future of the throne? The crown possesses both the influence and the incentive. All that is missing is a veil of silence. Charles's haunting observation, "not hers from the beginning," casts a chilling new light on the past. In this scenario, Diana may have been recruited to fulfill a public role, raising a child to whom she had no biological tie. This perspective offers a potential explanation for both the hidden correspondence and her years of quiet suffering. Some historians now argue that this is more than just conjecture. It could be the key to understanding the profound emotional void and the lifelong sense of displacement that has defined Harry's journey. If Charles was attempting to voice a conflict he had grappled with for decades, it would explain the long-standing friction noted by those closest to the crown. While their public appearances were governed by rigid formality, a distinct lack of warmth became increasingly undeniable as Harry reached adulthood. While some dismiss this as a mere generational gap, insiders perceive a deeper pattern, a systemic avoidance of vulnerability. As one former palace official observed, Charles often appeared hesitant to bridge the emotional divide with Harry, as if he were caught between a desire to connect and an uncertainty of his own right to do so. The House of Windsor has long functioned within a realm of rigid protocols and unspoken legacies. They maintain a fortress around their private hardships, demanding a uniform silence from every member of the lineage. Historically, they have resisted evolution, anchoring themselves to ancient rituals while shunning any public display of vulnerability. However, Diana chose a different journey. She gave a voice to her suffering courageously, identifying the solitude she faced, and exposing the staggering weight of the crown, a reality no one had previously ventured to describe. It was this very authenticity that cemented her place in the public's heart. Prince Edward, observing with his characteristic composure, watched the internal struggle play out. He saw the royal establishment faltering to maintain its pace, while Diana's vulnerability forged a connection with the masses that the crown simply could not replicate. Her honesty did more than just illuminate her private battles. It cast a harsh spotlight on the increasingly obsolete foundations of the monarchy itself. For decades, the House of Windsor had meticulously curated their public persona. They maintained a glossed and remote exterior, yet Diana proved impossible to regulate or suppress. Her profound authenticity, which captured the global imagination, emerged as the ultimate danger to the traditional royal order. She evoked a visceral, deeply human response, transforming her into more than a defiant royal. She became an existential threat to the very foundations of the throne. The more the establishment attempted to muffle her voice, the more evident it became that their hold on the public's loyalty was slipping away. Within the walls of Buckingham Palace, an impenetrable silence has taken hold, a quiet that offers no clarity and admits no fault. Behind the vacant corridors and hushed high-stakes meetings, a palpable sense of dread is mounting. Insiders suggest the true fear isn't just this single revelation, but the specter of what else remains hidden. A royal source has confirmed that a specialized crisis management team has been mobilized, reminiscent of the unit deployed during the Sussex's landmark Oprah interview. Their objective is clear: contain the leaks, mitigate the fallout, and retrieve the original dossier. Rumors are now swirling that additional correspondence may exist, letters intended for Diana, William, or Harry. If even one more document comes to light, the consequences could be catastrophic, potentially triggering a legal and constitutional crisis that challenges the very laws of succession and royal inheritance. Prince William is a man who carries the weight of the truth. He has guarded this secret for decades. If he were indeed a silent participant in this concealment, it wouldn't be just a family matter, it would be a betrayal with the potential to fracture their bond permanently. The burden of this knowledge is immense. As the face of the modern throne, William has been meticulously prepared for leadership since infancy. However, following the revelation of this letter, his long-standing silence has begun to invite scrutiny and spark uncertainty. If this secret was indeed part of the palace's inner circle, it's highly likely that William has lived with it for many years. Prince William and Prince Harry, enduring figures in the global spotlight, have navigated their share of public triumphs and private tribulations. Yet no hardship parallels the devastating loss of their mother, Princess Diana. For the brothers, her passing was more than a personal tragedy. It was a seismic shift that fundamentally altered their trajectories. In truth, the once unbreakable bond between William and Harry began to subtly erode in the wake of her death. While difficult to confront, these undercurrents of friction had been mounting for decades, eventually serving as a primary catalyst for the drastic transformations in their respective lives. William was transfixed by the archival footage, captivated by the visible warmth in his mother's eyes. He watched as Diana tenderly brushed a stray lock of hair from Harry's forehead and leaned in to share a private whisper that sent Harry into a fit of laughter. While the audio remained a mystery, the physical language of her affection was undeniable. This wasn't merely a nostalgic clip. It was a long, sealed portal to a childhood William hadn't realized he had suppressed. Watching it now, he felt the sharp, familiar ache of grief, a visceral reminder that a vital piece of his history had been permanently severed. Positioned at the base of the monument dedicated to her memory, William began to speak. "My mother's voice has been my constant companion." He remarked a solemnity in his tone that forced the world to stand still. This transcended a mere public tribute. It was an intimate unburdening of a secret guarded by the establishment for a lifetime. Bit by bit, he started to recount the final phrase Diana breathed into his ear during their last moments together. A secret message that for nearly 30 years had belonged to him alone. William also dedicated himself to dissecting the origins of Diana's turmoil. While some wounds had scabbed over others, remained dangerously close to the surface. He began a period of deep inquiry, seeking out those who knew her best, driven not by a desire to replace his mother, but by a mission to preserve her essence. To him, this was the only way to ensure her brand of compassion endured. Eventually, William's vision shifted toward a permanent tribute, one that felt profoundly authentic. He didn't envision a cold marble gallery or a sterile monument. Instead, he sought a sanctuary that felt soft and familiar, a peaceful garden, or a quiet, sunlit room filled with her photographs. It would be a space designed for reflection without judgment, a place where the world could finally see Diana as she truly was. Diana did the impossible. She breathed life into an institution that had grown cold. Before her arrival, the monarchy was a world of shadows, hidden behind layers of rigid rules and a calculated professional distance. The royals weren't people. They were icons of history and tradition expected to remain unmoved by emotion. Diana, however, rewrote the script. She didn't seek sanctuary behind guards or grand facades. She was soft-spoken yet bold, choosing to lead with her heart, and showing the world that even a future queen wasn't afraid to offer a warm public embrace. She traded distant scripted gestures for a place in the heart of the crowd. She touched hands, looked strangers in the eye, and shared moments of authentic connection that felt entirely foreign to the royal script. Diana didn't just represent the crown. She humanized it, closing the gap between the palace and the pavement. Yet the very warmth that endeared her to the world was seen as a dangerous liability within the cold corridors of power. To the establishment, her accessibility wasn't a triumph. It was a breach of tradition that shook the royal family to its core. Diana's popularity wasn't manufactured. It was a natural byproduct of a heart that refused to be managed. She didn't just occupy a space at official engagements, she transformed them into moments of genuine connection. While others observed protocol, she visited the sickbeds that many were too terrified to approach. By embracing those living with HIV/AIDS, she didn't just change the narrative, she forced the world to see their humanity. Her walk through active minefields wasn't for the cameras. It was a tactical move to demand safety and justice for the victims of conflict. She didn't seek the spotlight. She redirected it toward the people the world had abandoned. The battle to remain authentic eventually left her exhausted. The strength and independence that defined her were the very things that fueled her deepest heartaches. She could no longer survive behind the mask of a dutiful, smiling royal. When she stepped into the light to share her pain, she shattered the illusion of the crown's perfection. The royal family, anchored in centuries of secrecy, found themselves paralyzed by her truth, caught in a storm of honesty they never saw coming. It leaves us with a haunting question. Was Diana the architect of the monarchy's future, or the catalyst for its collapse? Stay tuned for the answer. The role she played is impossible to ignore. Many argue that she granted the royal family a second act they desperately needed. Before her arrival, the institution's relevance was beginning to fade. In the eyes of the public, the royals were starting to resemble a museum piece, rigid, unapproachable, and locked in an outdated script. With Diana's arrival, the entire landscape was transformed. She brought a warmth and a vibrancy that reconnected a fading monarchy with the hearts of the people. She forced the royal family back into relevance, dragging them, however reluctantly, into the light of the modern world. But her presence was more than a spotlight. It was a beacon that penetrated the shadows of the institution. Many believe Diana didn't just change the family. She exposed them, unearthing the secrets and the silence that the palace had guarded for a lifetime. When Diana began to vocalize the isolation and crushing pressure she endured within the palace, she effectively dismantled the velvet curtains shielding the monarchy's pristine facade. She revealed that beneath the glimmer of the diamonds and the grandeur of the staterooms lay a rigid, insular environment defined by institutional coldness. Her unflinching honesty struck a profound chord with the global consciousness, creating a legacy of truth that decades later the royal establishment is still laboring to reconcile. Diana's life on the world stage was a grand theatrical display, a facade she perfected for a nation in love with the idea of a princess. Yet, in the quiet of her private journals, she stripped away the costume. She didn't perform. She confessed. These hidden pages reveal the raw, unvarnished story of a woman standing at the edge of a precipice. Her writings are a roadmap of loneliness and a haunting fear of total loss of self. She captured the growing resentment within her marriage, writing, "He hates that they love me more than him," as her popularity became a source of palace-wide tension. In these pages, she laid bare her internal war with bulimia, a silent, agonizing cry for help in a world of golden silence. To understand Diana, one must look at her not as a princess, but as a mother who refused to surrender her children to the machine of the monarchy. Despite the cold indifference that met her cries for help, she waged a silent war for William and Harry's souls. "They are the only part of my life that matters," she wrote. "I won't let them become shadows." She saw the trap before they did, the danger of growing up emotionally distant, obsessed with optics, and isolated from human connection. Looking back, her diaries read like a roadmap of the very struggles we see today. She foresaw a future where the frost of the royal family threatened to extinguish the warmth of genuine family bonds. However, this uncompromising honesty bequeathed her sons a rare inheritance: the permission to be vulnerable. Her collective writings, the diaries, and that final correspondence established a definitive creed: prioritize love over legacy, safeguard the heart over the hierarchy. Diana's ultimate ambition transcended mere security for her children. It was an urgent plea for their authenticity, a shield intended to prevent them from becoming captives to the sterile, unyielding traditions of the crown. The veil has been lifted, and Diana's final vision is now a matter of public record. The monarchy is standing on a historical precipice, facing a transformation that will redefine its legacy forever. This is no longer a simple domestic drama. It is a battle for the soul of the crown. Will William choose to follow the ancient script written by his predecessors, or will he fulfill the promise his mother left behind, a leadership rooted in human connection instead of institutional pride? The gravity of this choice is the ultimate burden of his inheritance. Could this revelation serve as the catalyst for reconciliation, or has the distance become an insurmountable gulf? Between the weight of public words and the scarcity of private grace, the crown's silence speaks volumes. Yet the reality is undeniable. Everything has changed. With the Elizabethan age over and the current reign aging, the future of the throne now rests with a generation rising from the legacy of a mother who stood against the machine and sacrificed everything to change it. This is purely for reference purposes, only based on hypotheses and unverified rumors/public opinion. Let's discuss it from an objective, analytical perspective. We have reached the end of this journey through the poignant and hidden words of Princess Diana. Her spirit remains a powerful force shaping not only her children's journey, but the very destiny of the British monarchy. One question continues to haunt the record. Is a reconciliation possible in the name of their mother's last request, or has the divide become an insurmountable part of their history? If this story moved you, please like the video and subscribe to the channel. Be sure to turn on notifications so you never miss an update. We appreciate you being part of this story. 2026 began with an eerie silence, but behind the doors of Buckingham Palace, a silent power struggle was underway. When King Charles III faced health challenges, the question was, is Queen Camilla becoming the true helmsman of the dynasty? Is this true resilience or merely an elaborate charade to protect the throne? What do you think? Comment number 1 if you believe in resilience. Mark 0 if you suspect this is a staged event. Remember to like and subscribe to discover the secrets of the British monarchy. The investigation has begun. If we closely observe the royal family's recent actions, we see a subtle shift. The most powerful figure seems to appear less frequently in front of the cameras. Instead, there are brief announcements about treatment. Analysts are asking, when the lighthouse no longer shines as brightly as before, who is steering the ship of the kingdom? In the documentary Behind Closed Doors, Queen Camilla offers haunting glimpses into her first year on the throne. She speaks of cycles of trauma and efforts to heal society. But the public noticed a small detail on the Isle of Man in March 2024. When asked about the king's health, she chose to confront the issue rather than avoid it. Some argue that her public statements about obstacles in managing the king's health were not simply a medical update. Could this be a psychological stepping stone to gradually acclimate the Queen's dominant presence in major decisions? Another perspective is more humane. It could be the outburst of a partner after months of bearing the burden of pressure. When the royal robes become too heavy in the face of nature's challenges, are those words a reassuring message or a subtle plea for help regarding a harsher truth unfolding within? The contrast between the healthy appearance she describes and the king's restricted activities creates a logical loophole. If everything is fine, why has the balance of power in the palace shifted so dramatically? The contrast between the healthy appearance she describes and the king's restricted activities creates a logical loophole. If everything was fine, why did the balance of power in the palace shift so dramatically? Are we witnessing the truth or only what is allowed to be seen? Are the Queen's heartfelt confessions a shield protecting the dynasty or a key to unlocking a new chapter we were unprepared for? To understand Queen Camilla's current position, we must turn back the pages of controversial history. In the minds of many, her journey to the throne was not a path paved with roses, but a liberation from the ghosts of the past. Whispers about the events of the previous decade still echoed, making her legitimacy a major question mark. However, history always takes unexpected turns. Could someone who was once at the center of public opinion become the most reliable anchor for the dynasty in times of crisis? If you observe closely, you'll notice a subtle shift. The most powerful figure seems to appear less frequently in front of the cameras. Instead, there are brief announcements about the treatment process. When the lighthouse no longer shines as brightly as before, who is truly steering the ship of the kingdom? In the documentary Behind Closed Doors, the Queen mentioned the cycle of trauma. But observers are paying attention to the detail at the Isle of Man. She chose to confront the issue directly rather than avoid it when discussing the king's health. Could this be a psychological stepping stone to allow the public to gradually become accustomed to the Queen's dominant presence in major decisions? Or was it simply a humane outburst from a life partner after days of bearing the burden of pressure? The contrast between the king's outwardly optimistic demeanor and his restricted activities creates a logical loophole. Are we witnessing the truth or only what is allowed to be seen? Prince William and Princess Catherine's symbols of steadfastness, they serve as pillars of steel upholding public trust. Prince Harry. A message from afar, bridging geographical distances with genuine understanding. Princess Anne, the younger sister who is believed to be bearing the heaviest burden of grief over her brother's misfortunes. But just when the world believed the royal family had established a solid defense line, a new crack appeared right at the epicenter. In November 2024, an unprecedented event occurred: a mass absence. Queen Camilla unexpectedly canceled important ceremonies at Westminster Abbey. The official announcement stated a lung infection and the need for rest as advised by her doctor. However, with the king also facing a rigorous treatment regimen, this absence inevitably raised sharp questions from the public. Is this merely a medical coincidence, or a sign of a system being overwhelmed by immense pressure? The fact that the Duchess of Gloucester had to replace her at important diplomatic events sparked a wave of conspiracy theories. Was the true state of the royal court being concealed to avoid a widespread crisis of confidence? With both of the palace's highest symbols facing physical challenges simultaneously, the future of the monarchy presented an unprecedented governance dilemma. The velvet curtains of Buckingham Palace remain drawn, yet the scripts of the future continue to be written by the world's curiosity. Are we witnessing a monarchy striving for transformation, or are we seeing the most fragile moments of a thousand-year institution? Are we truly observing the breaking point of this millennium-old establishment? If you feel yes and believe a major shift or an underlying upheaval is being prepared, please leave a number 2 in the comments. If no and you believe this is simply a brief rest as announced, leave a number 5. Don't forget to hit like and subscribe right now so you don't miss our upcoming deep dive analyses. In the world of symbols, presence is power. But what happens when two of a nation's most revered symbols simultaneously face a health crisis? Observers are speculating about a worrying scenario: a kingdom without a direct leader. Queen Camilla's absence following the king's announcement has created a terrifying power vacuum. Remember the dark shadow that fell over the Princess of Wales, Catherine, earlier this year. Although she declared victory in her silent battle in September, its aftermath remains a grim reminder of the monarchy's fragility in the face of the trials of nature. Is Buckingham experiencing a bigger health crisis than what's being reported in the press? To understand Camilla's position, one must turn back the pages of her controversial history. Her journey was not a bed of roses, but a triumph over the ghosts of the past. However, history always takes a different turn. Can someone who was once at the center of public opinion become the most reliable anchor in times of trouble? History is the most honest mirror. In the 1950s, King George VI kept his health a closely guarded secret to protect the nation's image, leading to shock when the funeral bells rang. In contrast, Princess Margaret chose to publicly acknowledge her decline, bridging the gap with the common people. Buckingham Palace is currently torn between these two strategies: security for stability or transparency for empathy. In November 2024, an unprecedented event occurred, a mass absence, when both the king and queen had to temporarily leave the stage due to health reasons. An astonishing power pause occurred. Camilla's dedication to organizations such as Macmillan, it's not just a ceremonial role but an inner empathy. But when the torchbearer also faces the cold winds of exhaustion, who will be there to give her strength? Perhaps these rifts are the strongest glue binding the royal family and the people together. We stand before a new chapter in British royal history, where the lines between privacy and official duty are blurred more than ever. Apologies for absences, optimistic announcements of recovery, and even veiled silences, all are creating a multifaceted picture. Where does the truth lie behind the closed doors of the palace? Is it a dynasty resiliently healing itself, or the beginning of an inevitable power transition, the tip of which we have only just begun to see? Our investigation goes beyond dry medical reports, delving into an unprecedented psychological shift. Queen Camilla, once a figure at the center of controversy, is becoming a symbol of empathy. Why did she choose to confront serious illnesses like cancer and osteoporosis with such determination? This is explored in the organization's coffee chat sessions. Macmillan, or those quiet visits to the laboratories, were not just a ritual. It was her way of humanizing the crown. As she confronted her own lung infection, the public no longer saw a distant monarch, but a human being battling the limits of her physical being. Could it be that these rifts in health are the strongest glue binding the royal family and ordinary people together? One notable hypothesis is being discussed by international observers. Is healthcare transparency a new diplomatic tactic? Beyond the borders of England, major powers are looking to Buckingham as a model of adaptation. The public disclosure of the hidden aspects of royal health is not merely an act of honesty, but a far-reaching policy reform. Under the king's approval, a new wave of health awareness is spreading, promising a comprehensive transformation of the national healthcare system. But consider the perseverance of the leading couple. King Charles III, a guardian of the environment and sustainability, has dedicated his life to preparing for a greener era. And now, as he and the Queen face personal challenges, they are writing a chapter of unwavering determination together. Their legacy is not just about laws, but about the ability to modernize an ancient institution in its most fragile moments. We have explored the hidden corners of the palace, from the secrets of the past to the transparency of the present. Queen Camilla and King Charles III stand before a stage larger than ever before, where every step, every breath, and every announcement is scrutinized under the microscope of history. Light is gradually returning behind the stone walls of Buckingham, but the questions remain. Is this transparency a voluntary choice or a necessity of the times? After the storms of health issues, in what direction will a more human monarchy lead the world? The truth may have layers we have yet to uncover, and time will be the fairest judge. King Charles III and Queen Camilla are standing before a stage larger than ever before, where every step they take will be scrutinized under the microscope of history. Light is gradually returning behind Buckingham Palace's stone walls, but the question remains, is this transparency a voluntary choice or a necessity of the times? After the health storms, in what direction will a more humane monarchy lead the world? And what do you see in Queen Camilla's announcement? A much-needed reassurance or a signal of a major change about to begin? Is this change an opportunity for the British monarchy to connect more closely with the public, or a way to cope with inevitable challenges? where power lies not only in the throne, but also in how leadership is accepted and understood, is Buckingham experimenting with a new model of leadership. A model that is based not only on power, but also on connection and empathy. It's time to ask ourselves, will this transparency become the norm in the royal world? Or is it merely a stepping stone to a broader transfer of power? With constant shifts in health and power, is the United Kingdom facing an unprecedented power restructuring? As the health of royal icons like King Charles and Queen Camilla gradually declines, is it time for the next generation, such as Prince William and Princess Catherine, to prepare to take over? These questions are not only important for the royal family, but also for the nation as a whole, as they will determine the direction and image of a changing monarchy. Looking deeper into public psychology, could disclosing health status be a tactic to maintain public trust? Is the British monarchy trying to demonstrate that transparency during difficult times is crucial to maintaining public respect and trust? Or is it simply part of a long-term strategy to consolidate its power in a world that increasingly demands openness and integrity from symbols of power? A major question is being asked: can this dynasty maintain stability while facing unprecedented challenges? As the heads of the royal family begin to show signs of weakness, can the dynasty find strength from within, not just from political power, but also from understanding patience and resilience? All will be revealed in the coming months as crucial decisions are made by this powerful duo. King Charles III and Queen Camilla stand before a stage larger than ever before, where every step is scrutinized under the microscope of history. Light is gradually returning behind the stone walls, but the question remains, is this transparency a voluntary choice or a necessity of the times after the storms? In what direction will a more humane dynasty lead the world? What do you see in Queen Camilla's announcement? A much-needed reassurance or a signal of a major change about to happen? Share your thoughts below. Don't forget to like and subscribe so you don't miss the next secrets of the royal family. In the shadows of royal power, deep secrets still exist. But when the fortress of silence begins to crack, the whole world witnesses a grueling battle between duty and life itself. The story of Princess Catherine is not just about health. It is a struggle between eternity and true humanity, one that has forever changed the image of the crown. Do you sympathize with this courage? Comment 1 if you admire it, or 0 if you have a different perspective. Don't forget to like and subscribe so we can explore the mystery together. There are moments when time itself seems to stand still, when even the most solid stone walls of history cannot hold back the ripples of change. Buckingham Palace has just released a message that has shaken the hearts of millions. Gone are the rigid formalities of royal protocol. King Charles and Prince William appeared together in a rare moment of shared empathy, opening up about a profoundly challenging chapter in the life of Princess Catherine. For months, speculation hung over London like a thick fog. Yet when the truth was finally revealed, its weight surpassed all imagination. As the world holds its breath, the British royal family is confronting a stark reality, one where titles and crowns offer no shield against the unforgiving laws of nature. Before we unravel the deeper meanings of this turning point for the future of the monarchy, join us by subscribing to stay updated with the most authentic and insightful information. In a rare display of unity, the monarch and his heir stood side by side. On their faces, there was no trace of their usual majesty, only the weight of compassion. For an institution that has long held composure as its guiding principle, this moment marked a painful break from tradition. The words were spoken softly, yet their impact felt like a psychological earthquake. This was not an ordinary medical update. It was a vulnerable confession that shattered the illusion of perfection the palace had carefully upheld for over a century. William, long known for his steely resolve, now appeared with an emotion he could scarcely conceal. His voice, though still measured, carried undertones of uncertainty. King Charles, in a moment that transcended his role as sovereign, referred to Catherine as the heart of the family. This was not merely the voice of a monarch. It was the voice of a father watching a loved one endure the storm. That very sincerity sparked an emotional wave that resonated across the globe. From the flickering candles at Windsor to messages sent across oceans, the world is sharing a solemn, reverent silence. Everything has changed because deep down, we all understand this truth. Behind those gilded iron gates lies a quiet battle for peace. But what led to this heartbreaking turning point? To grasp the reality, we must turn back time to the moment when the first cracks began to appear. Princess Catherine's absence was initially regarded as nothing more than a routine period of rest. Yet as days turned into weeks and weeks into months, the silence took on the weight of unease. There were no casual photographs, no radiant smiles before the camera's hallmarks of Catherine's public presence. Her complete withdrawal from public life raised a pressing question: was something beyond control unfolding behind the scenes? Even the closest security staff and aides were enveloped in an atmosphere of strict discretion. Privacy was no longer a choice. It had become the final fortress protecting what mattered most. When official engagements were canceled without clear explanation, and when representatives began relying on vague language, the public understood they were witnessing something unprecedented. An anonymous staff member once remarked, "Things are not as simple as what's written in the press." Now, as part of the truth has come to light, we realize that the greatest value lies not in leaked information, but in the inner strength of a human being facing adversity. Catherine, the woman long associated with grace, is writing a new chapter not through visibility, but through quiet courage. Everything has entered a new chapter, one that cannot be reversed. The image of an unchanging, flawless royal family is gradually giving way to a different reality. Behind the velvet curtains of the palace, truth is no longer something that can be neatly packaged and controlled. As the outside world begins to connect the scattered pieces, it becomes clear that this is not merely a delay in a recovery journey. It is the transformation of a legend where royal splendor is being forced to confront vulnerability and deeply human fears. Now, Prince William carries more than the weight of a future king's responsibility. In the shadows of the long corridors of Adelaide Cottage, he finds himself at the very center of the storm as a husband. Sources close to him describe a profound psychological shift. The familiar calm has been replaced by a constant undercurrent of worry. For the first time in his life, diplomatic rules and courtly protocol have become meaningless. This is not a media crisis to be managed. It is a battle to protect the woman he loves most. A battle in which political power has no voice. William, trained from childhood to restrain emotion, now finds himself surrounded by a sense of helplessness before fate. On sleepless nights gazing out the window, he is not searching for political solutions, but for a fragile glimmer of hope within the frightening stillness of the house. The breaking point did not come from natural events, but from a collision between two worlds. On one side, an advisory machine steadfast in its belief in strategic silence to preserve stability. On the other, the heart of someone living through the crisis. Heated debates erupted behind closed doors. Media experts worried about the turbulence of public opinion, but William saw something far more important: the dignity of truth. In a moment that defied all precedent, a private message was sent to the monarch, brief yet resolute. She deserves more than silence. It was a declaration marking the end of an era of forced mystery. William no longer cared about staged photographs or hollow press statements. His only concern was the woman who had walked beside him through life's highs and lows. As tensions reached their peak, King Charles, long known for his extreme caution, made a decision that would completely change the course of events. After witnessing his son's quiet pain and his daughter-in-law's resilience, every remaining barrier of protocol dissolved. In a historic meeting at Clarence House, the king affirmed, "No more hiding. Let the world see the strength of perseverance." This step marked a deeply human shift in power. After a brief private visit to Catherine's hospital bedside, the raw truth reached the heart of the head of the monarchy. What he saw was not a symbol recovering according to plan, but a soul striving to make its way through the valley of life's most grueling trials. When the king left Windsor with a pale face and a heavy spirit, the entire royal household understood the whispers were over, and a new reality had begun. The silence that followed was no longer meant to conceal, but a silence born of respect for a profoundly personal and courageous battle. Everything has truly changed, and history will remember this moment as proof that beneath the royal cloak, the heart remains the most powerful guide of all. In the quiet halls of the palace, an unprecedented struggle for power erupted, but not over the throne, rather over the truth. As cautious voices sought to wrap the situation in vague statements, King Charles exercised a rare prerogative: the decisiveness of a father. For the first time, he set aside all diplomatic convention in favor of transparency. This action not only sent shockwaves through those closest to the palace, but also healed a silent fracture. Charles and William, two generations of monarchy, found common ground in shared pain. They were no longer acting as king and heir, but as two men protecting a world threatened by an invisible adversity. Every word in the forthcoming message was weighed not to preserve appearances, but to honor the dignity of a mother and a wife fighting with resilience. Yet what the world is about to learn is only the tip of the iceberg. Confidential materials and first-hand accounts from insiders reveal a chilling reality: Catherine's trial did not begin recently. Signs of instability had already surfaced in late 2023, hidden behind troubling blood test results. For months, the truth was concealed beneath a veneer of stability. Why did the palace keep it secret? The answer lies in a harsh royal philosophy: the symbol must not be allowed to waver. Even as pain became part of daily life, Catherine continued to appear with a radiant smile, chair meetings, and lead educational initiatives. It was a silent sacrifice, where an iron will struggled to overpower physical exhaustion. Behind the stage lights, the velvet curtains concealed her weakest moments. There were times Catherine collapsed backstage at charity events, yet the swift motion of security and media transformed them into ordinary migraines. William witnessed it all, from worrying weight loss to long, sleepless nights. He pleaded with her to stop, but Catherine, bound by unwavering devotion to duty, refused. Catherine is not only battling adversity, she is fighting to uphold faith for an entire monarchy. This quiet sacrifice between the dazzling stage lights and moments of collapse behind the scenes paints a portrait of a figure far beyond ordinary protocol. Comment 2. If you feel moved and admire the steel will of this crown-bearing woman. Or comment 5. if you have a different reflection on the price she has had to pay. Don't forget to like and subscribe now to continue uncovering these inspiring archival stories and never miss another heart-stirring tale. The tension between an unfallible symbol and a human growing ever more fragile pushed the royal family into a precarious position. Senior aides feared that if both the king and the princess showed weakness simultaneously, the illusion of institutional strength would collapse. They chose silence to protect the throne, but forgot the price of isolation. Catherine's story is not merely the tale of a royal. It is a lesson on the limits of humanity when faced with a higher duty. As cameras prepared to capture historic footage, the world would come to understand sometimes the greatest strength does not lie in the crown atop one's head, but in the courage to face the truth, even when that truth has the power to change everything we thought we knew about a monarchy. For the sake of stability, a curtain of secrecy was drawn. Catherine accepted it, trusting that these trials were only a brief chapter in her journey of recovery. Yet time and the laws of nature wait for no arrangement. As the palace prepared to speak, reality